Hi folks, Dr. P here to talk about videos versus writing for educational purposes. And you can thank my patrons for this. I write a monthly insider's look that I send to my patrons. This month I wrote about how I make videos and how I've moved toward showing my face. Within 2 days, 3 of them had written to me commenting on what I'd said, and that's around 50% of them. And this screencast is the result. We're not highly visually oriented people, but in 2020 many people are. So the question is how to educate people. I am not training people, I'm educating them. I'm teaching understanding, which is education, rather than rote learning, which is training, roughly speaking. So what's the best way to do that? I think it's a classroom with a fairly small, up to 25 population. But if you can't do that, what's the next best? Well, writing can be effective, but it lacks the back and forth clarification you get in a classroom. And it lacks contributions from the students. On the other hand, people can go over again and again what is said. Video is sometimes fuzzy, not focused, but some people learn better from video. So, videos versus writing, what's better? I know that writing has been the standard educational method outside a classroom for a long time. Books can be a treasure trove. Unfortunately, many moderns don't recognize that, or they choose to ignore it, or they just don't read much. Also, now it's possible for ordinary people to create videos and post them on YouTube or an educational platform like Udemy or Skillshare. You can do it with a good smartphone if you want, and many people have. In the world of writing, the now common acronym TL:(DR), which stands for too long, didn't read, is the kiss of death. If people don't read what you say, then you can't use writing to educate them. Yet it's interesting how many yahoos think they can comment intelligently on something they didn't read. It's puzzling. We also get the skimmers who only half understand what they read, who are in effect functionally illiterate. We also get people who think they can become experts from a 30-minute video. Certainly not from a book, that takes too long. The online purveyors of educational videos now focus more on video quality than course content. I recently had 26 of my 27 long existing Skillshare courses closed by Skillshare for various reasons, most of them video presentation. You can guess how annoying it is when some yahoo tells me my course is inadequate when in one case I've had over 600 students. And when I have 17,000 classroom hours of teaching experience, and when I've written a successful book about my main subject. But that's the kind of thing that happens nowadays. So, for me it became screencast versus talking head. A screencast is talking over slides. So people have the slides to look at, and that also helps people for whom English is a second language. And yet talking head seems to be emphasized almost everywhere. In general, the question has become, is your video visually interesting enough and of high enough visual quality? And of course, a talking head is more interesting visually than slides from a PowerPoint presentation. Also, clearly some folks are more interested in being entertained than in learning something. And a screencast is not entertaining. Of course, I would say talking heads generally aren't entertaining either, but different strokes for different folks. So I often hear that viewers want to see the speaker. Now, I've always said you won't gain anything from seeing my 69-year-old face. It's not like I'm a pretty woman. And you might notice, ask yourself, how many ads do you see that include a fine-looking woman, even though the woman has nothing to do with the subject? That's especially true in Germany. I shake my head about this, but apparently that's more effective from the advertiser's point of view. But I'm not sure that looks are a motivation. It's more just seeing a person in itself. I don't understand this magic, but it seems to be there. And of course, you don't see the person who wrote a book. You don't see a person who writes anything at all, generally. Now, this has brought to mind comments I've seen that seem really odd to me. For example, that the commenter cannot enjoy music without there being a visual component. And I say, what? Or that an RPG is much more fun when the magic items are, say, plus 50 rather than plus 1, even if both amount to exactly the same thing functionally. What? You must be kidding. But no, they're not kidding. Some people just have different perceptions. It's part of being jaded, I suspect, but we don't need to go there now. Video versus writing is partly about perception. So these days, more than half the videos I make are talking head shorties. I call them shorties because if I have a subject that requires longer than about 3-minute treatment, I'll do a screencast. I've not gone to the extent of showing myself picture in picture on a screencast, though some YouTubers do that for whatever they're showing. I don't expect that I will. I had to decide whether to make this presentation itself a screencast or a talking head, and because of the length I chose a screencast. That's also easier for me to remember what to say because I have the notes right there on the screen. Thanks for listening.